There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Welcome to the last podcast on the left. Do you want to start this one? Welcome to the last podcast on the left.
I don't know how to introduce things. I panicked.
You did it. No, you did it. It was good.
Let's
Marcus. Say Marcus. Marcus Parks.
Okay, no, let me try it again.
Okay, try it again.
Let me try to intro.
Okay.
Let me intro again.
Get a running start at it.
Welcome to the last podcast. Marcus. Shh. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me try it. Let me try it one more time.
Okay.
Let me try.
Well,
welcome. What?
Welcome.
All right, let me just welcome to the last podcast on the left with Ben Kissel and Marcus Parks and Hong Kong Henry Zabrowski. I hope you like rice because we use rice like you use a spaghetti.
Oh, interesting. For fantastic reasons.
That's weird.
Starches.
Everyone uses rice.
Everyone loves
starches. You need it. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're talking about real-life horror and how it has completely changed because of the fantastic instrument that is the internet.
Now, we did a show last night. We did a Big Fat Scary show where we showed a lot of our favorite internet videos, scary internet videos, and did our sort of classic repertoire over it.
Classic. Of course,
classic sort of vaudeville bits.
repartee.
Yes, and if you get a chance, YouTube Fudo, Fewdio, they have some fantastic horror shorts, and Daywalt, DAYWALT, Daywalt.
Yes. And they are the incredible horror shirts that are being made originally for the internet, and they're the only people making good horror anymore.
And they're also fictional. The reason that we chose fictional was because there was a live studio audience there, and we didn't want to terrify them, because if Henry had his way, we would listen to nothing but real-life murder, death, kills via 911 calls and things of that nature.
Which is why we decided to do that today.
So this is our gift to you.
Because we know that you people love this shit.
You love it, you're strong enough to handle it, you're mature, and you're wise beyond words.
Now, I will say that this is going to be a particularly intense episode of Last Podcast on the Left, so just be prepared for it, because this stuff's really real.
It's real, and the arguments for and against could certainly be made. This is,
but we're going to take all those against arguments
and throw them out the
window. Fuck
We're
you.
driving by a dump station, son. Throw your books out the window. We're going to church. The thing is, our church is more of a horror church.
Yeah, our church is an abandoned.
We lost the feed, but we're back.
Yeah,
well, ladies and gentlemen, in losing the feed, that's interesting. The government does not want us to be talking about what we're talking about.
And so they want to make sure they interfere with our tiny microphones in this tiny crypt-like room in the cave in Long Island City.
Now, I am of the mind, this is a personal stance of mine, all of these sorts of deaths that we might hear today, I think that it is human nature, these things happen, and I believe that hearing them and experiencing that is better for society than closing it down. It's the same reason that I agree with sex education.
But
I agree.
It's the internet. It's sort of evened out I don't think there's any good or bad anymore with the internet. The internet is a sponge.
It is a mucky sponge.
And it has everything in it. You can see the time-lapse creation of Guernica, the beautiful painting by Pablo Picasso.
I mean, who did that one?
Pablo Picasso.
Oh, I gotta check him out.
He's good. He's foreign.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not American.
Oh, un-American.
Yeah.
Anti-American?
No, I mean, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And then you can also see a bunch of 911 calls to where people get murdered on them. But the internet just shows you it's all part of human experience. It's just a gigantic spectrum. And because when we went to do this internet show, we were like, what are the things that really scare us? And I know for a fact the things that keep me like wide awake at night screaming into the bathroom mirror is stuff that really happens.
Like when you're shaving your left leg and not your right leg.
But the thing about my left leg is that it's naturally more hairy, and my right leg is a little alopecia. which is
Take
weird.
your left leg hair and put it on your right leg hair, and everything's equal.
It's like a little leg wig.
You're like a little below the waist socialist. Just spread the wealth all around.
It's nice.
That's good. But you were saying you think I think it was you who said the internet is just the collection of the human consciousness or something like that. It's all there, right?
It's like kind of, if you want to get a floofy do with it, it's like Carl Jung always talk about like the collective subconscious and how we're a part of a giant human memory, and then what the internet is slowly doing is creating a physical version of that,
which is why it's half disgusting, half boring.
it's 75%.
Yeah.
Like disgusting and boring,
Real
and then
bad.
25% the tiny sparks of good in humanity, which is just so small.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just not there, because who wants to watch fucking puppies all day? I mean, Reddit does.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
But there's still a lot of real bad shit on Reddit.
so much fucking
Speaking of
space
Reddit-
sticks.
Yeah.
Basic stuff's good.
Yeah, if you ever have a chance, check out Reddit, the subreddit Space Sticks.
Yeah, Space Sticks is pretty good.
Enjoy
Space
yourself.
Sticks about?
It's a bunch of you know what? I think you should just take a look at it.
I will take a look at it.
Yeah.
But speaking of Reddit, so you got a lot of these things that we're going to hear about off of a website called 4chan.
Yeah, 4chan,
number
of course.
4, and then Chan.
And it seems like we get a lot from 4chan because
yeah.
it represents our mindset.
Yeah, it does.
So what is it about 4chan?
I've been on 4chan about 5 years now.
Yeah, I love 4chan.
Well, what is it? Because I don't really understand this stuff. I get too bored with it. What is it about? Because you click on like 9 of them, and they're one of them is okay and interesting.
That's
You
kind
guys
of what it
really
is.
Peruse and you find the needle in the haystack.
It takes hours.
Yeah.
It takes hours.
What is it about 4chan that like turns you on the most? Is it just the discovery of finding it, like those fellas in Storage Wars?
Basically, it's because it's a catch-all. Like, people just dump shit there constantly, and and a lot of it's garbage. And then you find the really awesome things, and it just serves as it's just a great example of the internet as memory.
Yeah, right.
And you can also, now that they also have a sort of system where when you request certain bulletins to be archived, they archive them. The mods come, and they really regulate it really well. So when you go through the 4chan archives, it's really only good bulletins. It's really only good stuff. So it's like when you kind of go through there, and I spent a lot of time on X, which is the paranormal board, which is a great combo of bullshit, gifs of girls doing titty fucks, and then awesome like paranormal footage.
Nice. And so you get a lot of like alien footage from there also, right?
Oh yeah. Which is great. That was where I ended up I saw that on 4chan the first time when we watched all that the Spanish alien, like the UFO footage.
Which one was that?
The lights changing.
Yeah. Oh, as a matter of fact, if we could somehow post that on something.
I'll send you the link to this
good.
wonderful UFO footage, which is eerie as hell. But
But then
speaking of
literally
UFOs,
the clip before that one was just a chick getting titty fucked by an old Coca-Cola bottle.
yeah, which is
So
fun.
it's like,
Yeah. I mean, that's it's full of that. If you really want to go to the dregs, go to B.
Yeah, B's disgusting. B's
Don't
disgusting.
go. Do not go,
That's the
everybody.
problem. There's just B is only for
Yeah.
the lulz.
If it gives Marcus the willies, it is not a good place for any normal human being.
Yeah.
to be.
There are very few things on this earth that give me the willies. B, if I really want to dive like headfirst into the garbage of
The
human,
mucky muck.
just the muck of human consciousness, the worst, the asshole of the internet.
I just like seeing. I like seeing what people think about, though. At the same time, like that's why
one
I
of the
like
reasons
it.
why I love it. It's the darkest possible shit that people can possibly come up with, and it's all there.
But it's
there's
dark,
also-
and it's also light, and then it's retarded, and then
It also seems like it puts you on an FBI watch list.
God
pretty
knows.
certain.
Yeah.
God knows with because like all of my bookmarks on my
Right.
computer is like pork soup recipe, like a various anime, and then 911 calls. It's like, what is wrong with this
He's
guy?
a well-rounded individual.
He's just a fun pervert.
Yep.
I like these fun perverts.
But anyway, so I think we're going to listen to one of these that you stumbled upon. It's about a fellow who worked at Area 51.
Well, now this is an excerpt of a phone call. I think it's pretty famous, but I love it as an example of what may or may not be real life. And that's one thing that is also an interesting factor with the internet is again, you don't know if you're getting put on or not. You don't know if
never know.
someone's lying to you.
I mean, that's the thing. And as you listen to this, keep in mind that my girlfriend and your girlfriend also, they call in the radio shows for like the War of the Roses, all of those things. Like phone calls to the radio shows are all fake. So
We can't say the identities because it's actually highly illegal.
It is highly illegal.
But everything you hear is fake. Every single show, reality show is fake, as you all know.
So
I'm
it's
sure.
possible, but the difference is they get commission for it. They're actors, and they get money
everyone
for
gets
it.
paid for it.
The fellow who's calling into this coast to coast
Did not receive any
no
money.
compensation,
Now, this
really
is
no reason for it.
We've talked about Coast to Coast before. We had one guest, Jeremy Vaney, who talked endless shit about Coast to Coast because he had problems with the host of
Art
it,
Bell.
with Art Bell. But it's a call-in show on AM radio in Texas. It's not in Texas, or it's New Mexico, right?
Yeah, definitely New Mexico.
It's in New Mexico,
Yeah, all
which is,
shit
again,
like
the
New Mexico's
capital of the
just
weird.
full of shit like this.
And this was
So very close to Area 51.
Yes, and so he had a special call-in line for anyone who was working for or had worked for Area 51, and this was a call he received about a couple of years ago, and it's very eerie.
It is creepy.
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens, Art, they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
What a good funny clip. Now
I see why they hired him. He's got a non-shaky voice.
then that's the so at the end of this call, the reason why it gets cut off is that the entire station went offline.
Completely shut down.
It shut down the whole radio feed got shut down for 10 minutes. Art Bell said this was the first time that he didn't know that it ever happened.
I can't imagine they do have the newest equipment, however.
Oh,
So
no.
it's possible.
But it is just talk about. I just love to think that
Odd
it's
timing.
real.
Yeah.
I think that, the timing of it, regardless, is dead on.
Dead
You
on.
know, if the technology did choose to just quit out at that time, they perfect horror timing.
And if it's fake, it's brilliant. It's wonderful.
If it's fake, it's brilliant. But what would be the reason for this guy to fake it? He has no name
Just
recognition.
being crazy. They have so many. It's the one thing about Coast to Coast is that people who call in are generally just really, really insane.
Yeah, and Dan Aykroyd is a very, very regular guest on this show.
I love Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd's the only one with the truth.
That's the thing.
That's the problem, man. He's the only one who knows the truth, and it's hard to carry that burden.
That's the thing, man. You can't.
So you got to drink so much vodka.
Yeah, Crystal Skull vodka. I really wanted that set set for Christmas, but I didn't get it. I'm so sad.
that's too bad.
I got to buy it for myself. They've got this great Crystal Skull vodka set, which is the big crystal skull,
right?
And then it's got a bunch of little skull glasses.
And then Harrison Ford comes with it, and he acts poorly.
Dan Aykroyd will come and he acts for you for free.
Oh wow, that's
very
really
nice.
But going back to the caller, so he apparently he worked at Area 51, and I'm confused. He calls them not extraterrestrial but extra dimensional, and I can't wrap my Midwestern brain around what that means.
Well, we had again our previous guest Jeremy Vanny kind of loosely talked about this, but I think it's just sort of
just well-rounded aliens who like culture, like sociology,
extra-dimensional means that they can be here in this room and we wouldn't know because they exist on a different plane
like cats.
Of consciousness. But they're just in a different, like extra-dimensional is, if there's I guess it's sort of if you believe in like multiple universes.
Right.
The idea that these multiple universes are kind of like all like against each other, and then it's like a piece of paper like laying on top of another piece of paper, and that like what you like one's a transparent and one's like normal, and then when you slide the transparent piece of paper off, all of a sudden it's in the room. So it's like they are extra dimensional beings, which means like they're not coming from another planet, they're coming from another dimension, which means they don't need to get in a rocket ship and fucking go a certain number of light years.
Right.
It's something that just pokes through the holes to a dimension.
Would an analogy be like one of those hanging blinds, with the whole series of them that you got to turn and then the blinds open up?
Imagine,
is that sort of like,
imagine a stack. The simplest way to explain it is imagine a stack of maps. Yeah, just as a stack of maps, and each map is like slightly different.
So you can poke a hole through it with a needle, and then slide through, and then whenever you peel a map away, you're in a new dimension. So it's like, and then you slide through, and that's what kind of what Jeremy had talked about is that they're not creatures that
just bust through like Silent Bob did in Mallrats, and then you see that hot chick's tates.
Yeah,
remember that? And
just like
Joey Lord Adams. Yeah, I remember that. I masturbated to that.
Yeah, me too. That's just over and over again. But that's the problem, though, is that after you sit there and just rewind it over and over, you got to look at Kevin Smith like a lot.
Like a lot.
Yeah, like a whole lot. Yeah.
That really makes me sad. Yeah. But it's also just the fact that like aliens may exist in a form that we literally can't even understand, or they're just something so foreign to the human brain that we have to assign a meaning to them, like whenever it is we notice them.
Right.
And that, I guess once you notice them, your life's never the same.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine if something came into how do we get there? We got to go to where they live.
I just think we just are not a creature that was built to do that. And then, or there's some of us that do. And then 2012's coming, so maybe that's the big step.
December 21st.
Goddamn, soon.
We have a whole year to live, though.
I know, I'm so sad. Get here already.
They should just call it closer to 2013.
But I also find it interesting how the like different like nations like attitude towards UFO studies, where it's like the U.S. is the most repressive of any other country.
And this is where it flips on the head, right?
Yeah, we're like in China and Japan and all through Asia, they're like, they send messages into space that are essentially like, fuck the U.S., like, they don't care for you, they don't want you in their country, but we'll gladly accept you.
Do you think this is why it seemed like during Nam, the Viet Cong were just coming out of nowhere?
Yeah, because the quantum leaping.
They were leaping it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the Chinese government is just like, come on down. We want you here.
Well, they want because they also know, I think that they're very much more open about the fact there was like, well, when you come, we'll get your technology and then we can use it to subjugate our people.
Right. And then Iran just shoots down our drones.
But then people like, in the UK, they're much more relaxed on UFO. All of their studies they're very open. And then WikiLeaks was supposed to do a big dump of various UFO reporting.
I like the term dump is perfect for WikiLeaks. It's just like siphon through it, you might find a corn kernel to eat. But for the most part, it is shit.
But that's kind of also what we could be on the verge of in 2012.
So what do you think would happen if the U.S. government laxed up on their UFO research and let everybody in on the information that they have? I don't think the society would fall apart. I feel like that's the concern that most governments have.
If you believe, like, Gregory Corso, who wrote the book Day After Roswell, and he was a part of a team of engineers that he said worked on reverse engineering Wi-Fi from the ship, the FiWi. But like he went and researched, he reverse engineered it from the craft that landed at Roswell.
Okay.
And so there's so if that's true, and if we got a bunch of modern technology from alien technology, I think that would be a big deal. I think that would affect a lot of things.
See, I don't know how much I believe that because Wi-Fi. I don't know. I'm kind of dealing on Wi-Fi right now, and it can't handle metal stairs between me and the router.
Because that's still us making it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably.
I don't fucking know.
We also don't have the military grade Wi-Fi. Obviously, they have Wi-Fi that the soldiers have, which is much, much better. I mean, they can communicate God knows where.
I'm
anywhere
pretty sure. In
world.
Afghanistan, they have some crazy shit.
Absolutely.
They have all the drones, all the technology that goes into building those drones. I bought this book I read, Wired for War, and it's this amazing book talking about how military all the major technological advances over the last 50 years came out of the military.
Of course.
And they're getting
Forever.
shit that we won't see
Not even 50 years. I mean, for hundreds of centuries, military was always the first one to come up with the technology.
Yeah.
But speaking of murder and death, there's a whole nother series of things on the internet that are 911 calls, which we listen to now, and I think we're going to listen to one. This is going to be the Santa Killer.
This is going to be the Santa Killer. Now, this is there on Christmas this year. A man dressed as Santa Claus showed up at his family's house.
Not the real Santa Claus.
Not
kids.
or honestly, probably.
There's no Christmas next. I guess 2021. December 21st, the world's end. So Santa's like, I'm done.
Fuck it.
It's time to go kill that family. That
Take it to the streets. Yeah. But this is
Strange thing. Santa is Arabic.
Well, that actually makes sense.
So, a man dressed as Santa, an estranged father of this family, showed up at one of the various different family members' houses for Christmas, dressed as Santa Claus, and killed the whole family.
All right.
Now, there's actually more of there's a series of information coming out now that it was a Muslim revenge killing.
Okay.
And that he was killing them because his daughter was dating a white guy.
And his daughter was hot.
Yeah.
It's against Muslim tradition, though, to wear the Santa outfit. So maybe that's why he shot himself.
I think at the same time he was just going for a little chuckle.
Yeah, maybe.
He wanted the coroner to have a little chuckle at his expense.
Let's listen to the laughs now.
This is him calling into 911, reporting himself.
Grapevine 911, where is your emergency? Hello, Grapevine 911. You need help? Are you sick? What was that? Do you need an ambulance or police? Hello? One moment. I'm just getting heavy breathing on the phone and I'm trying to talk to myself.
Or who do you think hears creepier things, phone sex operator or 911 operator?
I would say that phone sex operators hear creepier things just because I imagine the same amount of people that call 911 to kill themselves over the phone also call phone sex operators to kill themselves over the phone.
Well, I used to be an operator for this thing called USA Relay, which is how deaf people use the phone. They have these devices called TTY devices where they put a phone receiver on there and they can type through.
Yeah, attaches to their eyeballs and vibrates so they could feel different motions or different letters.
Not at all.
You have a different design plan?
Yeah.
Than what we're going to go for here at
But
Dell,
what you had to do is the deaf people would type in what they wanted to say, and then you had to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the great thing about that is that you get to hear and say what people talk about over the phone. Deaf people love phone sex.
Yeah, I imagine.
Do they?
Yeah, and you have
I think
to say.
they also love the fact that they have to get it through someone to go talk to someone else.
Yeah, I mean
It's super voyeuristic.
Yeah, extremely
Thank
voyeuristic.
God for
yeah.
you porn.
Yeah. Now you had to do that.
I want to know some my deaf dick.
All of our dicks are deaf, I guess.
Come on,
I once had to break up with a girl. The deaf guy was breaking up with the girl, and I had to be the voice of. I had to be like, listen, I just can't do this anymore.
Did you do that tone?
Of course I acted it.
Yeah.
What are you kidding me? That
You
was
have to.
That was the best.
So
part.
anyway, he wants to break up. I'm sorry, I just don't like it
that was
anymore.
the best. But
I'm gonna
the great thing about
here.
the great thing about the job is that at the end of every sentence, you had to how you knew the sentence was over or the communication was over. You had to say go ahead or GA. So you're like, listen, I'm just not happy in this. Go ahead.
That's awful.
Yeah, and you had to type back what the other person said. So I just had to sit.
Unintelligible crying.
That's what I typed. I just typed crying. Crying. Still crying.
Oh my God! Well, let's get to the last one. There's a lot
really
of crying
fucking sad.
in this.
I want to hear some of these phone calls.
Yeah, it was.
I feel like
really, really sad.
I want to get some transcripts.
The next one pales in comparison. The most horrific one that we're going to listen to today pales in comparison to that.
This
Death
is
People
the one
Breaking
that
Up.
everyone yelled at me for wanting to show on the
All
show.
right, ladies and gentlemen, this is, in my opinion, controversial. It's a woman. She's making a 911 phone call. There's a fella outside of her home. And,
he asked to say. Basically, she tells the story here. He asked to try and rent an apartment, and then she said there isn't one to rent here. And then he stayed looking at her, and this is her call to 911.
yeah. So let's listen to that now and never be the same.
Yeah. This is Ruth. What's the problem, ma'am? Oh, there's some guy been checking the place out. Oh. Well, he went in the back. I have an apartment in the back, and he said he was looking for a guy. And he comes to my door, and said he's looking for an apartment. So I live alone, and I'm an old lady. Mm-hmm. Where is he now, ma'am? I have no idea.
Strangled to death with a bunch of basically big cord.
Not every day, huh? Sometimes you wake up in the morning and it's just nice to be a detective.
It takes all kinds. That's what I always say.
This is what I come to work for.
Round.
This too shall pass.
So, nonetheless, those are three very different YouTube clips and
the last one kind of leaves a different sort of taste in your mouth.
Well, the last one, I mean, this is the thing. It is.
When I first heard that, I was up all night.
Yeah, it's exceptionally
I
creepy.
stayed up all night and I literally just stared outside at my neighbors, praying my neighbors wouldn't come in to murder me.
This is what I want to say about it, though. On a positive side, sometimes we joke about wanting to murder people and everything like that. Actually hearing what it sounds like, I think that I'm much more resigned to never stab a woman.
Yeah,
I don't that is so unbelievably gripping
harrowing, yeah.
and awful. And if anything, I think it spreads a little more peace than violence.
See, when I first found that, it was because they had just WikiLeaks had just did a big dump of
Julian, I got a shit, Julian, shit.
We're using private contractors in order to get Afghanistan and selling
I'm gonna cut this shit halfway.
Oh shit!
But it was all of the 911 calls that happened during 9/11, and it was all of this footage.
Yeah, I've heard those.
And
real sad.
It's rough because the worst part about that was these operators are lying to them because these were people who were calling in the floors above the crash, and they weren't going anywhere, and they were we're setting somebody up now, we're setting somebody up now, and they're just and it's long of just it's getting hot up here, and it's really
it's not like the Nelly song.
If you want to go
it's much different.
If you're having problems with your mom or dad and want to call them on the phone, and you really can't get over the recent fight you had,
right?
Listen to the 9/11 calls, and then you'll really want to go hug your mom again.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable.
But this was one of the. This is just you can't. I mean, technically, it's not horror. It's real life. It's not horror. It's a thing that happens.
But once again, Last House on the Left. The Strangers. I mean, there's a whole series of horror films that are depicting this exact thing.
But it's about getting a certain. We were talking about this verisimilitude, where it was I wouldn't see The Devil Inside Me. Right, it was The Devil Inside.
Devil Inside, yeah.
The Devil Inside, and it blows because it's obviously
this is a new horror movie.
It's really fake. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just not a documentary. It doesn't look like a documentary. Nothing looks real. And now, with how much content, how much insane content we can see on the internet, like as shown here, that like my brain doesn't take like it's hard to fool my brain.
Right.
Like I want the real, raw, uncut fucking bullshit.
Just the cock, like the biggest cock.
I just want some of this Celtica.
All right.
Celtica.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go make that happen right now. But until then,
Absolutely. All right. Well, I guess we've wrapped it up here. Any last? I mean, once again, I think that this stuff all exists, and it's interesting. The internet brings it all to light now, and
find someone to love. You know what I mean?
Find someone to love.
Don't die alone.
Yeah. We are test subjects in this unbelievably bizarre experiment. No humans on the face of the earth have ever had to listen to it the way that we can listen to it now. At the very least, since the Middle Ages, when people used to just like murder each other in the streets for fun.
The plague was really
the
rough,
plague and stuff like that. But at the very least, we have a nice, safe internet distance.
I'm shocked at myself.
yeah.
Just for how much stuff is like rattling around my brain.
Right.
At any given point.
Yeah, you don't want to know what goes on up here.
Yeah, once you unlock it too, it's always open up
But
there.
I still feel nice. I still feel like a nice person.
You're not the man in the video killing that woman. No, I mean you. If anything, these sound clips prove that we're extremely kind people.
But
I think
what
we
does
do
it
okay.
mean that we can let this into? Because it's like I show this to Holden.
We didn't make it.
Holden got so. I love how Holden's always our meter for
Well, Holden refuses to let some things into his brain.
Yeah,
But it's a free flowing bridge.
There's nothing that's not letting here.
Both
I
ways.
just wonder what it is about our brains that it's okay. Is it just because I have such a firm lock on the fact that that's not happening to me right now, and I know for a fact that's a horrible thing.
Right.
But
I mean, there's something about
being
it, though.
curious.
In order to survive as a human, you have to digest a whole series of information, and knowing that can happen, reminds you to lock your door at night. Reminds you to make sure that window pane is shut. I think being blind to the fact that some intruder could come into your apartment and stab you is much more dangerous than knowing that it could
Because
happen.
the
I mean,
big
you look
thing-
at that one woman who just shot that intruder with a shotgun while she was holding her baby.
so what? The craziest
She was
story
ready.
I've ever heard.
She was ready for it. I'm going to venture to say she loves that YouTube clip.
I would also say, because that's the thing, burglars case your house.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like they know your comings and goings. I was talking with a friend of mine, and they were talking about the people. He ordered Chinese food. He walked out. They met the guy a little bit down the street from his house with his door open. Got his Chinese food. Walked into the house. Man was in his house, taking his shit, throwing it out the back window. You're talking in a minute and a half.
Yeah.
He was in the house, and it's just like, what if he wasn't there to rob you? What if he was there to, and maybe he didn't even get you right away? What if you open the door to get Chinese food, right? And then you go and you get the Chinese food, you leave your door open, you don't even think about it. You go back in the house, you turn the show back on, you're watching 30 Rock,
Of course.
You eat your Chinese
the team
food.
is back.
Nothing's going on. You know what I mean? Just a normal, quiet night, alone in the house. You give a call, check into your friend. It's like, what's going on, man? You guys have a phone conversation for an hour or so.
Right.
You watch some more 30 Rock.
Sure.
You go to sleep.
In Netflix streaming.
And then you wake up and you're bound and gagged to your bed.
Jesus
And
Christ.
a man is telling you this long garbled story about how he can't wait to cut your penis off.
Sure.
Because what he's going to use it for is those little pot holders that just go on the handle.
Sure,
of
right.
a pot, a really hot pot. He's going to do that with your penis skin.
Good, but he's going to take it. He's going to put it to good use.
And he knows that he has all night, that you don't have to be at work until Monday.
Yeah.
And let's say it's Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you just had a hard week.
usually all
Unwind,
weekend.
Order some Chinese food, relax.
Yeah. And he's eating your leftovers.
And now and that's the real horror. He's eating all the leftovers. All right. That is the creepiest goddamn story I have ever heard uttered by a chubby man with a beard. That is for certain. That's the last podcast on the left for Henry Zabrowski, Marcus Parks. I'm Ben Kissel, and we will talk to you very soon.
Lock your doors.
Lock your doors,
Please,
ladies
dear
and
God,
gentlemen.
lock your doors.
Megustalations.
Megustalations.
That is terrifying.